It's a new year, which means there's lots of new opportunities for movies to light it up at the box office or flop. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris and welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing a little prediction video as I'm going to be predicting the box office of all the major releases of 2024. Before I dive into this, be sure to hit that like button and comment down below what films you think could join the $1 billion club, as well as what movies you think could flop this year. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to help me reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot. And go show some love to the Unusual Couple podcast for weekly episodes with myself and my girlfriend Cam. Without further ado, let's just dive right in. Alright, so the tiers I have today are $1 billion or more, $800 to $900 million, $600 to $700 million, $400 to $500 million, $200 to $300 million, and $100 million or less. And just to clarify the tiers, 200 to 300 million means 200 million all the way to 399 million. I just didn't want to write that out. So if a film's in 200 to 300, I think it could go just shy of 400 million. Now, a lot of these movies are big blockbuster films, but there are some on here where being in the 100 million or less category is still a financial success, or the movie could still profit, and I'll talk about those examples when I get there. But without further ado, let's dive into this. These movies are fully randomized, starting out with Dune Part 2. I'll be honest, I'm predicting pretty big numbers for Dune Part 2. The first film came out in 2021, and it went to HBO Max in theaters on the same day, and I want to say it still managed to gross almost 500 million, if not more than 500 million. Could be a little off there, but it's somewhere in that ballpark. That's impressive as hell, given the times when it came out. So now that audiences have seen this movie over the past 2 years, and it's a big time release, coming out in March, kind of kickstarting the early wave of blockbusters of the year, I'm gonna go 600, 700 million. I think this movie cracked 600 million worldwide. It's got the hype from Part 1. People are gonna be clamoring to see a big film like this in theaters this year, and this will be like the first big one of the year, really, of high quality at least. Could do 400 to 500, and that'd still be probably a success, but I think Warner Bros. Thinks they have a hit on their hands, so why not put it in the 600 to 700 million tier? Moving on, we've got Beetlejuice 2. Anytime you've got a sequel to like an 80s classic, it's hard to gauge. This movie could just knock it out of the park like Top Gun Maverick did, or it could flop. There's really no telling. I'll say right now, I could see this movie doing 400 million, and that's probably being, again, a little bit of an overshoot, just because it's so hard to read these movies. I mean, it comes out in the fall. I have to factor in that all the people who grew up with Beetlejuice who want to go see this, but also a lot of people just don't care about Beetlejuice. I'm being one of them. I'm not a huge Beetlejuice fan, so 400 million sounds right. It is a sequel to a beloved 80s film, so it's iconic. Tim Burton's in the picture. Jenna Ortega is attached to star, as well as Winona Ryder returning, and Michael Keaton. So it's got the stars, it's got the director. It could do way more than this, honestly. It just depends on the critical reception and word of mouth. Moving on, we've got Kung Fu Panda 4. I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know how well the Kung Fu Panda films have done in the past, so I'm kind of in the dark here. Ooh, this is tough. I just feel like 200, 300 seems appropriate for it. It's a DreamWorks animated film. I don't think this movie does $1 billion. I'm sure it could end up doing more because Kung Fu Panda has an established fan base. Clearly, there's been 3 films, and this is the 4th. But I feel like 200 to 300 million for an animated film like this seems right, and that could be lowballing it, honestly. Again, I didn't do my research on this specific franchise before hitting record, but moving on, we've got The Fall Guy. I'm also going to throw this in the 200 to 300 million range. I'll put it behind Kung Fu Panda just because, again, Kung Fu Panda being animated, I feel like gives it a bit of an edge when it comes to families, but The Fall Guy's from David Leitch, who directed Bullet Train, which ended up being a moderate success at the box office, I want to say. Either way, this has Ryan Gosling, it's got Emily Blunt, so the stars are there, the marketing looks great. This could be a surprise hit, and it does come out early May. There's not a lot of competition around its release day as it stands right now, so 200 to 300 sounds about right. It could even crack into that 400 to 500 range, but anything over 500 million for a movie like this, I think at least would be a huge success. But moving on, we've got Despicable Me 4, the first film to crack into that top tier of 1 billion or more. I know this franchise has its ups and downs, and I haven't even seen every movie in the franchise, to be completely blunt with you guys, but Minions: The Rise of Gru did almost $1 billion. There's this Minions craze that's indescribable in the world, especially on social media. People go to this franchise for the memes at this point, plus it's proven to just be a consistent big hitter at the box office. I think Despicable Me 4 has got a damn good shot to join the $1 billion club, so it has to be the first movie up in that tier. Moving on, we've got a film almost completely opposite of Despicable Me, Wicked. This is based on the Broadway musical that I've seen off-Broadway at the Fox Theater in Atlanta. I wasn't crazy about it. I do really like The Wizard of Oz, the classic film from the 30s, but this wasn't my favorite musical adaptation. I do enjoy musicals, though, and this comes out, I want to say, in November. I feel like all the Broadway musical fans are going to show out for this movie, but then on the other hand, musicals don't really sell tickets, and I feel like they're going to market it like that. This one's really hard to read, and I could be way off here, but I think it's gonna end up only doing 200 to 300 million. I'll put it like in the middle of that tier, just because the Wicked name is iconic, and if they do market this as like a Wizard of Oz type film, it could do way more, but I just don't know if audiences care. Next, we've got Godzilla and Kong, Godzilla times Kong, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's the next film, The New Empire, I think it's called. Look, Godzilla is gonna make some money, right? So this is at least making 400 million worldwide. I'd say it makes 550-ish, and again, the ranges, like it says 400 to 500, so that's like from 400 all the way to 599 million, just to kind of make that clear. But I'm gonna put this at the top of this. I think this does at least 500 million. You look at like the Fast and Furious franchise, Fast X last year I think made around 600 million it ended up doing, and I feel like this could do high 500, so that feels appropriate. Next, we've got Inside Out 2, the next Pixar film. I'm gonna put this in $1 billion or more. And this might be crazy, but I'm going at the top of $1 billion or more as it stands right now, because Pixar in the Summer is a match made in heaven. This is a sequel to an already established film that has built an audience over the past 9 years. This is one of the films that I think deserved a sequel, Inside Out, and it's finally getting it. If they market this thing right and play their cards right, I think they could do $1 billion here, and this could be the next big hit for Pixar since who knows when. They haven't had like a universal winner in a while. But next we got Sonic 3, which is getting that Christmas time release. The Sonic films have been profitable at the box office. Honestly, I think this is a movie that does that 400 to 500 million range. I'm so confident I'm gonna put it right at the top of it. I think this could even crack into the $600 million range because of the holiday season release. You've got Shadow in the picture here. The Sonic fans are gonna show out. They've proven that with the first 2 films. And with this getting that Christmas time release, families are going to be more inclined to go to the box office for this. I just think this is going to be a hit, and honestly, I'm probably lowballing this one. It could end up cracking 600 million, again, if it's marketed right and if it just strikes at the right time with audiences. Moving on, we've got a flop, Kraven the Hunter. I just don't think this movie's got it. I mean, it'll do at least 200, so I'll put it in the 200 to 300 range, and it's probably got the best shot out of all the movies there to do the most, just because it is a superhero film with Marvel attached to it, but I think it's Morbius 2.0, and I'll die on that hill. I've been saying it since like the first trailer reaction I ever did. It just doesn't look like it has that it factor. Aaron Taylor Johnson, can he be a lead man who pulls in an audience? Potentially, but I just don't see this one doing too much. 200 to 300 million sounds about right. Moving on though, we've got Deadpool 3. Come on now. This is going at the top of $1 billion or more as it stands right now. I mean, this is the only MCU movie coming out next year. It's Deadpool, it's the MCU, it's the return of Hugh Jackman in the role of Wolverine. If they market this thing like I think they will, you know, putting an emphasis on the X-Men and potential cameos, this is going to light it up at the box office and potentially be the highest grossing R-rated film ever. You're damn right. I think it's going to join the $1 billion club. Moving on, we've got Madam Web. Again, I'm going to put this right behind Kraven the Hunter. I think this film does crack 200 million worldwide, but not by a lot. It comes out in February. I think it'll be the worst performing Sony Marvel film of the year, and there are 3 of those this year, believe it or not. I just don't know if audiences are going to give a damn or show up for Sony this year. Next, we've got Ballerina, which we don't have a lot of information on. It stars Ana de Armas. It's a John Wick spinoff. You know, John Wick is the appeal of John Wick, and so a spinoff in that world is probably just automatically going to do less than whatever the John Wick franchise does. I still believe that it will make money, and honestly, I'm confident enough to put it in the back of 400 million, just because if they say from the world of John Wick, I think worldwide it's going to have that appeal. But even then, it's going to be a tougher sell because John Wick is not in the front and center, and John Wick is the sell of that franchise. So replacing him automatically is going to knock it. And honestly, I could be way off base with that one. I just have a feeling it'll end up doing at least 400 worldwide because it's a big action film. But anyway, next we've got the last of the Sony Marvel films, Venom 3. Venom has proven that it can make money. It's the most consistent of the Sony Marvel properties. I have a feeling this one is going to do that 400 to 500 million range. I'll put it like right here. I'm pretty confident this one's going to make some money, especially if they fake us out with Spider-Man in the marketing, which Sony tends to do. But there have been big murmurs that, oh, there's going to be a Spider-Man in this film. It could be Andrew Garfield. It could connect to Tom Holland's film, the 4th one. So who knows? Venom has proven to make money, though. The first film did, I want to say, like 800 million. The second didn't do as much, but 3, I feel like, will settle in the 400 million range, which is still, I think, a pretty decent success based on the budget. but obviously they're trying to replicate that $800 million success of the first Venom, which I just don't think is possible at this point in time. Moving on, we've got A Quiet Place Day One. This movie will crack 100 million, but I'm going to put it in that category at the bottom where it could do like 190, but we have to remember it's a horror film. Horror films are going to make their money back, so this one will easily make a profit, but it's not going to be like a box office darling. Again, I could be way off base here, but this one isn't connected to those two as much. It's a prequel. Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph Quinn, and Alex Wolff are the stars, so it's not like it has a mega star attached, like say John Krasinski, a more recognizable face. So I just feel like, you know, upper 100 million range is good for this, and that'd be huge for a horror film like that, but that's not a loss by any means, because I'm pretty sure this is probably a lower budget film and it'll make its money back and then some. But a movie that is definitely going to be a success is next on this list, and that is Joker Folie à Deux, or Joker 2. I'm actually going to put this at the top of $1 billion or more right now. The reason being is that it is a sequel to $1 billion film. People have this infatuation with Joker around the world, whether that be fear or just a love of the character, perhaps just seeing a great villain go mad on screen, whatever it may be. People showed out for that first Joker movie, and I think that this movie will sort of replicate the success of that. You throw in Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn and people will go even crazier, because the character Harley Quinn alone has a big draw, so you throw Joker in the mix. I just have a feeling this is going to be a big hit yet again. The musical elements could maybe deter people from going based on word of mouth after a few weeks, so long legs this film might not have. Sorry to go all Yoda on you there. But I do think confidently it will make $1 billion. Next we've got Gladiator 2. I think this movie is destined to be a success. The first Gladiator won Best Picture. It's a film that's become a modern day classic. So people see Gladiator 2 attached, they're going to go, let's go see what this movie's all about. I have a feeling this one's going to end up being a really big surprise hit, and I wouldn't be surprised if it does 600 million worldwide. I'm going to put it in there right now, just because Gladiator has this international appeal, and if the movie's good, which I think it will be, with, you know, Denzel, Pedro Pascal, Paul Mescal, Joseph Quinn, Ridley Scott, the director's chair, I think people are going to be really curious to see this. And this is also a film that applies to all ages. Like 17, 18, 19-year-olds will want to see it, but people who saw Gladiator in theaters and like grandfathers and grandmothers will want to go see this movie. So I think that it's going to be a big hit at the box office, and it's going to be sort of like a Top Gun Maverick on a smaller scale, where it's a sequel to a film that came out years ago, but a lot of people just want to flock to the theater and see what it's all about. So I just feel confident about that movie, whether it's, you know, for better or worse. Moving on though, we've got the Lord of the Rings anime film, or animated. I don't know if it's like just animated or actually anime, but regardless, I don't know about this anymore. I think it comes out in the holiday season, and it's kind of a loaded holiday season with, you know, Sonic and a film I'll talk about later. I think this one might get swept under the rug and forgotten, lost in the wave of all the other films coming out. This is a tough call, but I think it's going like right here in the 200, 300 million category, just because it's going to be a competitive season that time of year, and I don't know if an animated Lord of the Rings film will appeal as much as, say, the Hobbit trilogy or the live-action Lord of the Rings trilogy. But anyway, next we've got the Karate Kid film, which I actually don't think is going to end up coming out this year. We'll just have to see, but it's hard to read the Karate Kid box office, because the Cobra Kai show's on Netflix, and obviously you don't buy a ticket to go watch that, so you can't tell how many people really are watching each season, because I feel like Netflix doesn't fully, you know, give out their numbers. Who's to really say what the accuracy of all that is anyway? But I say this film does 400 to 500 million, and that just sounds right. I'll put it like right here. You know, a Karate Kid movie's gonna sell tickets. You put Ralph Macchio in there, you've got the 80s nostalgia, you got Jackie Chan, people are gonna go check it out. But if it is related to Cobra Kai, then you've got the whole Cobra Kai fandom who wants to go check it out, so it could do even more. But again, December's loaded, and Karate Kid in the cinema hasn't been a thing since the Karate Kid remake with, you know, Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan. So moving on, we've got Saw 11, or Saw XI. I just had to throw this on here because I'm a Saw fan. There's no way it even cracks 200 million. The Saw films usually make, you know, 90 to 100 to 110 million. Saw X was a big hit for the franchise, so I think this one will follow suit and make, you know, around 100 to 115 million, which is a huge success financially, because these films don't have big budgets at all. They have their audience, they've sustained success at the box office over the years, and I believe this one will follow suit. Moving on, we've got Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, which is a spin-off of Mad Max Fury Road, a film that I'm in the minority on because I don't love it. I actually think it's highly overrated. I think this movie will be a hit with people, but it's also hard to say. It comes out, I want to say, at the end of May, the same weekend as the new Apes film, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. I think Fury Road did 400 to 500 million. I have a weird feeling that Furiosa's not even going to crack the 400 million club. So I'm going to put it at the top of 200 to 300, meaning it'll do like 350 to 390 million, but I just don't think this will sell as well as Fury Road did. Another reason being is Furiosa is at the front and center, and audiences are less inclined because Mad Max is the draw to the Mad Max series for a lot of people. So I just don't know if audiences care anymore, like general audiences. I know that a lot of people who love movies do, but I don't really care, and I don't know many people who are excited for this one personally. Next we got Mean Girls. This is a musical rendition of Mean Girls. I'll put this in 100 million or less, like right here. Actually at the top, surprisingly. Mean Girls, like the original film with Lindsay Lohan, it has become just a smash hit over the years with different generations of kids. So I have a feeling this is gonna end up having long legs throughout January with word of mouth if it's good. So I think it could do 100 million, but there's a potential where it does less. I'm actually going to move it here. I just think that it's a Mean Girls movie. It'll probably make $100 million, but more, I'm not so sure. Next, we got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This is the 4th film in the new Ape series. It's set 300 years after war, I want to say. This is a hard franchise to get a read on. I have a feeling this will do 400 to 500 million. I'll put it right here because I think it'll do better than Beetlejuice 2 right now. I think that the reception week 1 from both audiences and critics is going to be huge, and that will, affect whether or not it ends up having long legs into June and July at the box office. But regardless, I'm excited to see what they have in store for us. Moving on, we got Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. The Ghostbusters movies aren't huge hitters. This will do like upper 300 million, and I'm confident in that, so I'll put it like right here. I do think the movie will make 300 to 350 million, but the Ghostbusters franchise has never really been a massive smash hit at the box office, surprisingly. Like, people seemingly love Ghostbusters all around the world, but the movies never really light it up at the box office. They make their money back, but they aren't like huge hits like, say, a Star Wars is. Next we got If. This is the John Krasinski directed film with Ryan Reynolds. This won't do much. I'm actually going to put it at the back. I don't think this movie's going to perform well. I have a feeling it could flop, which is unfortunate, but I just don't think it's that appealing to audiences. It's an original concept, and it's about, an imaginary friend. You've got Ryan Reynolds, sure, but I don't see this movie doing too well, especially because it's going to get lost amongst the crowd of a lot of other bigger films coming out. Next, we've got Mufasa the Lion King. This is doing $1 billion. I'm actually going to put my money where my mouth is. This is a Lion King film. It's releasing during Christmas. Families around the world are going to flock to the theater to see this, and it's a sequel/prequel to a $1 billion film and the Lion King live-action remake from 2019, which is a top 10 highest-grossing film ever made. You're telling me this doesn't have a damn good shot to make $1 billion or more? Come on now. And last on this list is Transformers 1, an animated Transformers film, which I think has a chance to do, again, probably $200, $300 million. I'll put it like right here. Transformers, I gotta think, I'll put it at the top of it. Transformers just has a big name appeal, but I don't think Rise of the Beast performed as well as people thought it would. So I go 200 to maybe 350 million, but other than that, I don't see it lighting it up too much. But that does it for me predicting the box office success of all these big films coming out in 2024. Let me know in the comments down below what films you think will gross the most money this year. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to help me reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. It means a lot. And go show some love to the Unusual Couple podcast for weekly episodes with myself and my girlfriend Cam. But that's gonna do it. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.